All right, chat. It's a bit old. I planned on watching it earlier. Kind of got distracted. Just haven't had time. But yeah, Emongg sat down for an interview with Aaron Keller. Apparently, it was really good. I ended up doing one with him about a month ago. Emongg was supposed to be there with me for that, but he wasn't able to make it, which is probably why they rescheduled it. Mine wasn't very good, unfortunately, because unfortunately, we had the idea of trying to do ones where we actually just like play the game and just like kind of hang out and do like an informal thing, because I don't want it to be like a grill session. But we learned through that answering complex questions while playing the game is actually difficult. It is a skill as a streamer. You know, we're kind of used to doing it and just talking on the fly and talking, like retaining information and keeping the conversation going. You know, when they're in our MMR fighting for their life, it's a little bit difficult. So we didn't get as much out of it. So let's watch it. It's an hour long. Let's go.
What do you want to start with on Stadium? Because I have random questions I'm going to give you, but like, do you have anything particular you want to start off with Stadium?
Oh, wow. You know, like I was expecting some questions, but I think that like maybe the biggest thing is we've been like
Sully sighting, true.
Pretty excited to see like how the fan base has responded to it so far. Like we have a lot of people playing Stadium. Yeah, we're kind of like going full speed ahead on this thing. I think we're probably even going to do another balance patch next week also.
That's going to be interesting because obviously I play one of the...
So I think this came out later in like a dev blog, but like apparently like 50% of the player base was playing Stadium or something like that. At least that's what I saw somewhere. But yeah, a lot of people were playing when it came out.
Seems to be struggling a little bit, but I'm also curious on that one because
not using the headset microphone. True.
That. So I'm curious first of all with data.
Wait, I just realized he's not wearing headphones at all. Wait, so does he have speakers on his computer and he has a mics off cam and then he has actual speakers? Wait a minute.
Who's the highest win rate hero right now in Stadium?
Okay, so this really depends on whether we're talking about, you know, I'm gonna move some now.
And sorry, I forgot I didn't mute alerts. My bad. Stadium is really fun. It's been me come back. Yo, playing 7 months. Yeah, Stadium is really fun. Sorry, I normally mute alerts for these. I didn't mean to cut yours off. I just realized at the last second I was like, uh-oh, I forgot to do that.
On my side, I'm gonna start moving some.
Yeah, it's good time
around
yeah,
so I can,
do your thing. Listen, this is
see this and see all
it's
the
quiet for you
stuff like that too.
What?
So if we're just talking win rates, it really diverges in Stadium, whether we're talking about like Masters Plus lobbies or lobbies beneath that.
Okay.
So if we're just talking about like a standard lobby, or like if we're gonna do like the average of all of them, then it's Lucio's got the highest win rate. He doesn't have that high of a pick.
Yeah, they ended up releasing a bunch of stats for all of this stuff. There was a blog about it. Lucio has like the highest win rate. For tanks, I think it was Ryan had the highest win rate. Diva apparently on console had the highest win rate, but they've also done a bunch of balance patches since then. I will say, I never thought I'd ever say this. Genuinely never thought I'd ever say this. I'm slightly concerned on how much nerfing they've done in Stadium. I know they want to make it a little more like balanced, but like not like super overbalanced, but like they want to like rein it in a little bit. But I've seen so many builds get nerfed very quickly, and it's like in a brand new game type where people are still learning, like radically taking away their builds very quickly. I learned in Deadlock made it not fun. Certain ones I understand. The Juno build was a little much, right? But since then, though, they've nerfed a lot of things. They nerfed like cast build. They've nerfed Diva hard. They nerfed the Diva Baby Diva build. Then they've recompensated buff. They nerfed Queen. They've nerfed Ryan. They've nerfed Cass. They nerfed like Cash on Reaper. They nerfed May. They've nerfed almost everybody, I think.
But he's like he's kind of like up there at the top. But things get really interesting, and then that's on the support side. If you want to talk about like tanks, it's Ryan. Ryan's got the highest win rate, and then Reaper's got the highest win rate for the damage roll. As soon as you go into, let's say, like a Masters Plus lobby, like everything changes. Okay. And it depends now on whether you're talking about console or whether you're talking about like PC only, or whether it's going from like
I guess some of that info that I got is from this and then just like got tweeted or something.
Because that like really changes it too. So Masters Plus, if you're talking tank, it's Junker Queen. If you're talking controller, it's Diva by a million miles.
Wait, really?
Like so high up there. Yeah, it's like it's actually pretty crazy where she's at.
That's
Diva was pretty bad on PC.
I'm just interested to hear that because, like, obviously Diva, like, you've seen the discourse on Diva. Diva's been like struggling, so I'm just now it makes a bit more sense though why it's taking a little bit of time to figure out Diva, because obviously if on console you have Diva dominate and that becomes a problem. If okay, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, the console stats are like really interesting to look at on this. And then I think if we're talking about like where were we, Masters Plus?
Yep.
Just on the average between like, you know, like console and PC, May's actually at the top. She's not like way above everybody else, and it's still Lucio at the top for the support role.
Wow, it's cool knowing that. See, that's why I love knowing data. I'm excited if we ever get to a world where we see data more consistently, because like there'll be a blog post with one set of data. We're like, that's data. That is data right there, and I'm excited. It's like
right.
It's like, speaking of that, actually, I'm curious now. Did you expect to see as much people playing?
It's actually a good point. I would love to see at the end of seasons they release win rates, kind of how Rivals does. I'd love to see that. You know, like pick rates, win rates for all that stuff. I'd love to see some data
with those amount of hours when you did Stadium.
No. So like when we were first like creating this game mode, you know, it was a long time ago. And sorry if I'm speaking over you a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of like some audio issues here, so hopefully I'm not doing too much of that.
I will talk over you too, so don't worry. You're fine. You're good.
Okay, good. Yeah, so when we first started working on this mode, we're like, hey, we want to have like another way to play Overwatch in the game, and we kind of like we were trying to solve some problems with Overwatch, and we were trying to provide like new opportunities in the game. And we wanted there to be a space that felt like it was totally separate from quick play and ranked, like the core modes for people to be able to go and play in. But we thought like, hey, maybe this will be like somewhere between 10 and 20% of play hours in the game, you know? And like that was kind of like the goal with the mode, was to set up something like that, because a little bit more data, the two top played modes are just our regular role queued ranked and unranked modes, and then they kind of go back and forth. Like
that's where it comes
as far as like play hours in them, depending on what's going on. When there's drives are out, ranked is above, you know, like the unranked mode, but sometimes they're kind of like going back and forth. And then
so historically, years ago, it was not even close. Like quick play was far and above, way ahead. To hear that even it flips back and forth and then drives it for sure flips over to ranked is kind of interesting. I think it shows that Overwatch is definitely more of a competitive game these days. It's not as much of a casual game anymore. Granted, it definitely does, so it still has a lot of casual audience, but it's not as much of a casual audience, which is very interesting considering how absolutely awful their esport is. The esport of Overwatch is so bad at this point. Listen, I know Overwatch League wasn't great. I have so many problems with it, right? Like, I literally worked inside of it. I got to see shit that was horrendous. Like, just the stupidest shit I've ever seen. Somehow, FaZe, it's almost made it worse. You literally can't even keep up with teams half the time. It's so hard to keep up with teams. There's not really much personality. Anytime there was any personality, they just haven't done a good job of highlighting it. Outside of, like, 2 or 3 people, right? Like, I think they went really hard on, like, PGE and then, like, Rack, I think, at some point. With like shock stuff, but other than that, just like it's worse contenders. It is really kind of worse contenders. Korea's is apparently not bad, but like we never get to see Korea play anymore because it's only on at like 2 in the morning, and there's a lot of times I don't think an English broadcast. The way they do, it's basically just drop farmers for viewership and like co-streaming it. Like they're like weirdly gatekeepy with like the way they do co-streaming stuff. Like I can tell you as somebody who I don't really give that much of a more. I'd like to be involved with it, but I don't care. I'm not gonna beg. It just like it's very odd. Like they would ask for like free stuff, like ask for free promotion and stuff like that, and like if you didn't do it, then you got like on the shit list. which was like stupid. And I'm at a point now where I'm not gonna get pushed around on that. So I was like, I don't care. Like I'd love to be a part of it more, but I ain't putting up with that. That being said, it's like also stupid. Like they like forced out Shock somehow. Like Shock like wanted to be one of the partnered Overwatch teams for OWCS, and they just like didn't. Like one of the, if not the only Overwatch League org that's still around, NRG, they just like didn't answer from what I heard. The chatter sounded like they just straight up ghosted them, right? And it sounds like they got ghosted, you know, just because like they want to reach out to other orgs, and because like some other orgs like have like big streamers signed, you know, and that could be part of it. Who knows? Because like they're weird with like their co-streaming stuff too. It's so strange. Like the way they're doing things is so strange, and like the viewing experience just isn't great either. So like you have teams that nobody knows exist. There's no investment, no fan investment. They don't do a really good job of reaching out. They don't really want to partner with creators that have an audience, unless like one, they're mega sized, or two, they do things for them like for free beforehand. It's just really weird. Overwatch being a more competitive game these days, like the base game, and then not having anything to work for just is so weird. You know what I mean? The other thing Overwatch or they up with the esports stuff is they went way too hard on trying to make it a good experience for the players over a good experience for the viewers. So most viewers don't like watching mirror matchups every game. They would play on like previous patches, right? Because like the argument is, you know, if you scrim on a patch for 3 weeks and then the patch comes out, like, well, you know, what the you're gonna play on a new patch, like all that scrim time is wasted. So they're like, oh, okay, like we'll play on a previous patch. And so sometimes you had matches that were being played on a patch that from like a month before. And so like people that are watching it, a lot of times like who watch esports like want to watch good players, but they also like are watching to learn the game and like learn what's good. And it's not even applicable. It's not applicable, right? Because like you might want to look in and you're like, oh, Sojourn must be really strong, but Sojourn just got nerfed in the ground a month ago, but they're playing on the previous patch. So you know what I mean? It's just ass. And maybe it's a bit to say, but I feel like the viewer experience should always come first. Without the fans, without the viewers, then it would never exist. Like the esport can't exist. Like just like professional sports. If you have no fans and you have nobody that wants to watch you, you can't put on a show. You can't put on an experience. And I think they really lost their way in that department. Like really, really bad. Don't they use a live patch in OWCS? That could be changed now. But I'm saying historically that's what they did for a long time. Was they kind of squandered a lot of the shit that they had. And I think it would take a really big investment to ever get it back to that spot. But also there's no money in esports anymore. Like if you guys didn't see like the Team Liquid thing recently with Honda, I actually looked into it a little bit. I thought about making a Flash TV video about it. I like low key kind of think that they just wanted out of esports. I think it was a great opportunity for them to get out because like they were justified in wanting to leave because there's no money. Like it just bleeds money, and it's probably didn't make them shit. Like, do you think Team Liquid fans were going out and buying Hondas? Probably not, you know? Regardless though, we're getting a little off track.
What used to be our third most played mode was our unranked open queue. And that kind of like always hovered around maybe like 8 to 10% of play hours. But when Stadium launched, it like kind of exploded. And was quickly went at like over 50% of like all play hours in the game. It was oh yeah, here it is, 50%. Crazy. It's going down right now, which is kind of typically what happens to a lot of our like.
The only money was in collegiate. Now you see big universities dropping out. That fumbles all around. Well, did you see why they dropped out? It was because they didn't tell them that they weren't going to do a spring season. So I think Maryville was the team that cited that they dropped out of Overwatch because they formed a team for the spring, like the spring competition, and then Overwatch just never communicated. They just never said anything. And by Overwatch, I mean Face It, because they have the keys to the esports section. So like teams were spending money and scholarships on forming teams for this league, and then the league just didn't happen because they just didn't say anything. You know, like that's insanity. Like think about that. Like imagine a Division 1 sport, like a football, right? Like you're like, okay, we're gonna field a team for the fall, and you bring a bunch of people in, you put them on scholarships, everyone's working out in the summers, like ready to go, and then you come to the start of the season, and they just go, oh yeah, we canceled it, by the way. What do you mean you canceled it? It is actually insane.
Our limited time.
That kind of happened in COVID. Okay, but COVID, you know what I mean?
Time, you know, like events that some of them can start big. None have ever started kind of close to this. Yeah. And then they'll like really quickly drop off, you know, to where they'll get to the point where, you know, it might be like something at 20% of play hours might go down to like 2% of play hours over a few weeks. So Stadium is dropping a bit, but it's still really high. It's like in the 30s or 40, like upper 30s, low 40s or something, depending on the day. And
that's
then
a big drop.
The big question is like, where does this thing level?
That's a big drop.
Yeah,
you know?
that still seems really good after a couple.
Wait,
weeks.
so it started at 50 and dropped to 30, 25, 30 after like 2 weeks. Because like we're about to be at midseason today. This came out 2 weeks ago. Assuming it went up the next day. So this is about a 2-week-old conversation. That's a pretty big drop.
Or close to it.
Yeah.
Like to be at that percentage, like that's really good.
I think ideally, like, you know, like it's not like we get to decide these things, right? It's kind of like it's the way that players respond to it. But ideally, it would kind of be like I would hope that like the quick play and competitive modes in this were kind of like roughly equal. You know, it feels like it would be sort of like best for queue time.
He just said normal new modes dropped from 20 to 8. Right, but this isn't a normal new mode. This is something they worked on for many years and is a massive project.
Best for a lot of different parts of the game, but at the same time, if like players, you know, like kind of like prefer this, that's fine. We'll keep making stuff for Stadium, and we'll keep making stuff for the regular game regardless.
Well, that's the exciting part, because I feel like, you know, if I have a bad day of Ranked, I can go and play some Stadium. If I have a bad day of Stadium, I can go play some Ranked, because I love Overwatch, obviously. Like, I mean, there's no hiding that. I've been playing it for years, so it's like, and I'm biased, so like I love having that option. And it's even on the roadmap, it was cool to see that like you have like a legitimate roadmap for Stadium. It's not like it's, you know, you introduce a mode.
For Overwatch, do the challenges like me and left. I think the other one also is true. Stadium relies on new content and patches. I assume will jump a lot when Freya comes out. Well, I also think that like if you're a DPS player, why play Stadium, right? Like unless you're playing like Cass or Soldier, like you know what I mean? Like what is in there for you? Like there's so much of the cast that's missing. If you're a support player, you're eating good. All the cool supports are in there. Mercy's in there, Juno's in there, Ana's in there, right? Lucio's in there. You're eating deliciously if you're a support player. And then tank is like in the middle, right? Like you get some cool ones, you get some Ryan, you get some Queen, you got some Zarya or Diva, Zarya, right? But like, you know, if you were like a Malga player or actually, sorry, Malga, Ramatra player, right? Winston player, Ball player, right? Then you're kind of like, oh, well, maybe I'm not that like super interested. Like DPS though is probably the big one that kind of loses out. Doomfist would be cool. I think Doomfist genuinely might be impossible in that game mode. Because like think about you get a game where you have no CC on your team and then you play against like a supercharged Doomfist. Oh god, I think that's actually really spooky.
I'm gonna go, hey, you know, here it is, have a little bit of fun. But like, do you have like a legitimate roadmap? Speaking of that, Aqua's
Sombra would
18,
also be
right?
spooky.
So is that also gonna be in Stadium? Because that wasn't a part of the roadmap. So I was wondering, did you miss out on putting Aqua there too?
Okay, so there's a bit of a story behind that one.
Okay.
And just like maybe some like inside baseball. Sometimes like you're like a lot of times you're moving like really quickly on a dev team to get information out, because you know, like we just launched this like a week and a half ago, right? And we're responding to lots of things internally. I'm writing this
draft mode would solve that. You're correct.
Kind of like late last week and early this week, but all this stuff needs to get localized at the same time. And so there's all these like sort of like deadlines that are typically like days before a player like sees the actual information. So we were trying to like collect enough information on the mode to where we felt like the roadmap was kind of like close to what we wanted. And there was a moment where we actually had Aqua on that roadmap for like mid-season 18 and we removed him. And we're in this spot where like one of the questions that we've got on the mode is what's more exciting for players to get one of the new heroes in the mode, or is it more exciting for like a hero that's been in the game for like the last 8 years that they might have a ton of affinity for? Is it more exciting for that hero to get into the mode? And so we're kind of like going back and forth on it.
So here's my thoughts. I think he's correct that you want to have the old characters come in. However, I think that when a new character hits the game, that is a hype moment and people want to play the new character. Only having it available in the base game long term isolates Stadium, right? Because it kind of makes it take the back seat and it's not as important as the base game, right? Not intentionally, but what ends up happening, right? Like Freya, for example, not in Stadium at the launch. They go out, move to Aqua, right? Into you know, this whole thing of the at what season would it be? 18, right? It'd be like season 18 because it's 16, so 2 seasons from now. They do the same thing again, right? Where they don't add them or even add them at all right away. You kind of now force everybody back in the base game. It's like Stadium doesn't become as important, right? And it's like, I understand they need to catch up with everything else, but I think that new heroes being everywhere is also important. I think you saw the opposite this season with Freya because Stadium was new. I've played 0 Freya. Well, yeah, but in future seasons, that I don't think that'll be the case, right? I think that this season makes sense for it because like everyone's going to play all the new stuff. But let's say Freya was in Stadium. I bet if Freya was in Stadium from the start, that the support queue times wouldn't have been just the longest. Like I bet DPS would have looked a lot more similar because people would have wanted to play the new DPS hero in Stadium, right? Because like DPS is the most boring, I think, of the 3 in Stadium. So it would push people into that role a little bit more. So I think it was a bit of a mistake for it to take so long. But then again, it might have been something where they just wasn't ready, which is totally fine. But I don't know.
We're watching conversations across socials and stuff like that, to where it's like, I don't know, maybe Aqua comes really early, but at the same time, like maybe it's better to put those resources into one of the heroes that people are like, oh my god, like could you imagine what Tracer could do or something like that in Stadium.
That makes sense. Okay, because I was wondering, because I'm like, I remember, you know, Aqua's there. We've heard that the newer heroes are going to be in there, so that makes a lot of sense. You know, you bring up like all these old heroes. So have there been heroes
Well, I don't want it in mid-season. I want it at launch.
In Stadium that you tried to start with at first, and then you're just like, we can't bring that hero in just yet? I'm just curious because, like, you know, there's a lot of heroes out there and you see them, but like obviously a lot of them didn't make it. So has there been a hero that you tested, like Tracer, for example, where you're like, Tracer's great, but like this isn't going to be ready yet. Like we can't.
That's a great, I don't think so, actually. I mean, there could have been, like, some of the Stadium designers maybe did some tests early on that they pulled back on.
Chat, I gotta go grab something and I gotta pee. Okay, let's continue, sorry.
But I don't know of one where we got pretty far with, where we pulled back with them. There were a few where we just purposefully decided to hold off on a little bit. And like a hero like Tracer is one of those, because like it's tough. Like sometimes when you're developing a game mode, you know, like whether it's a giant game mode like this, or even like some of the core game modes in Overwatch, like Flashpoint or something like that, you're building systems and you're building content like at the same time, and they all like influence each other, right? So it's not like the day we started on Stadium, where like there's going to be weapon power, ability power, survival power, like, or survival items, and then powers, right? That's the sort of thing that we kind of like moved into with the mode. But at the same time, we're also creating heroes, you know, and we're also like trying to build upgrades for these heroes as all of this is going on. And so with a hero like Tracer, there's like a lot of possibility space with her, where it's like, there's so many fun things that you think she can do, but at the same time, like, how do you make like her blinks like more powerful? Like, hey, I'm gonna like go into a blink build. You could start giving her more blinks, or you can start doing things with them. Like if you
blink build sounds crazy,
it causes damage and stuff like that. But without the system that we have right now, where there's like the powers that would give her that ability, and then the like ability items that would start upgrading it.
Hot take, the ability items are not strong enough. They need to be better. I don't think the items are influential enough. It's too much unga bunga, let me go max damage, unga bunga, let me go max button, instead of like, you know, getting a new cooldown, or the cooldown behaves completely differently, or just like general power that it provides.
We didn't have quite as clear a path on it.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I think that like going forward, now that we've got a pretty decent handle on the system and the way it works, I think that that some of those heroes are going to be like really fun to get back to.
That's the exciting part. It's the you know, I've heard for years the terminology of like hero fantasy, and I didn't really realize that till recently with like perks and then into like Stadium, where it's like, okay, this is what that means. It's where you take your character and you can go further and further with it, which is really cool.
I didn't read that.
Now, do you think you'll ever add like other things besides ability power, weapon power, things like that are like another stat that can maybe benefit another hero, or like, or are you really content with what you have?
I'm not familiar with Quake 3.
It's funny. I'm like trying to bring up the roadmap because I can't remember exactly how we specified some of that stuff on there. So I don't want to like give up too many things, but like one of the things that you see on there for like season 19 and beyond is consumables. And here's the tough thing about a roadmap like this is
consumables. Oh, like an active item button? Oh. Wait, that's gas.
We don't have those implemented yet, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it could be that we do this and we're like, you know what?
Like one button that's like, this is your active item and it just like refreshes your cooldowns. Or like, oh, give me, Cinema, give me magic carpet. I want magic carpet. If I can fly across the map, magic carpet on Rhine, right? And into a slam or something, my life is yours.
The system needs to turn into something else, but it's something that we think would be like really exciting for the system. It's like, one, on the design side, it's a bit of a money sink, you know, or a currency sink for this mode, to where people that are
Ryan can fly really already.
Might be able to
True, but you have to take a different item for it, and it's only during charge. Like, I don't want to charge. I wanna just be able to float and like sneak up somewhere and like, you know, like Colosseo, like the inside, like what if I could hover above the archway and I'm just sitting there on my magic carpet. You don't know I'm there. I'm waiting above you. And then I just deactivate and fall right on your head. Boom.
To put more currency into it. But it's also kind of fun to make those decisions of like, am I trying to like go after like long-term power here, or do I?
Or better yet, you pin out, right? You pin out, and then when the pin almost ends, that's when you flip to the magic carpet and then you float around. You know? Oh, wait a minute. Hang on, we're cooking. Roll out of spawn, boom, pin out, get almost there, flip to the magic carpet, slowly float your way in while no one hears you, no one sees it coming. Oh, boom! Easy.
You really need a short-term burst, you know, for power. So we're talking about systems like that, and then we're talking about some other systems that I don't think I can go into yet that could potentially go into it. The one other thing, and
my only concern would be controller players.
In the director's take, is that quest system, or what we're
buttons.
Probably going to end up calling trials with Stadium, and that's something that would be able to give a hero a power, or I guess we wouldn't call it a power. We're already using that, an upgrade to their hero early in the game that we're hoping like would influence the way that they would push their build. Because one of the worries that I've got for Stadium is that there could be a content problem with it, which means that like as people kind of like played a bunch, they start getting used to what all of the different
meta
builds are,
and stuff.
And even though it's like there's this very like rich and in-depth moment-to-moment gameplay side of it, the armory side of it might start losing some of its appeal. And so to just introduce a few systems to kind of like change the way you think about putting a build together from match to match is something that we think would be pretty healthy for the game.
Yeah, I do like that, because I find now that sometimes and I say it to chat, I'll be like, all right, I'm loading in. All right, I know exactly what I'm going right away in Junker Queen, and I'm jumping around in circles for 45 seconds because I'm waiting there. So like I can see why you add more depth to that, so you have to think more about what you're doing. I love that.
Well, I don't know if Emongg understood what he meant there. I think he meant more like, oh, I guess he did. It was like the meta builds is what you're gonna go for. But I guess like that's what they're trying to avoid. And I don't know if adding more diversity is gonna help, but like I think shareable builds will help a ton with that, right? Because like there'll be different versions. Like there'll be at least a weapon power, at least an ability power, and at least a survival version of every build for every character that you could save, right? That should help a decent amount. But beyond that, I think they just need more powerful items. Active items could be insane. And then patches also probably shake that up a lot. But you can't do too many patches too fast because people get worn out. And also just like nerfing everything is not fun. It's
people
a tough
been asking,
one. That's a tough. That's a tough
Trials,
solve.
I know that was on there. I think people were asking about the roadmap. And
I'm not
what that is.
mobile player either.
So Stadium Trial is this thing I was just talking about. It's that quest system to where.
Oh, okay. So it's the thing. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. It would be that, and so like
I think build saves are great, but I worry that I'll speed up the solve state. If it makes you feel better at high level, it's already solved. So like we already did it. It's already solved for most people. At least in the higher rank stuff. Like I've already seen it. I know pretty much what all the meta builds are, or at least close to the meta builds. It just depends on how much money you have per round, how fast you can get there. That being said, though, I think there's a lot of more casual people that genuinely don't want to think about it. They want to be able to load into the game and pick the correct powers that'll give them the ability to play the game correctly and just shoot and play the game. They don't want to read every power. They don't want to read every ability. They don't want to be counter building the enemy team. They just want to play Overwatch. They want to play the new version of Overwatch, right? It's probably very daunting to somebody who gets into the game and has never played a MOBA, and they're like, there's a million items and there's a million powers, and you don't know which ones to choose, and say you're choosing ones at random, and then you just start getting rolled, and you lose every game, and that's not fun, and you don't even know why you're losing, right? Because Overwatch players have been trained for years that the way to solve getting rolled is by counter swapping. Swap your hero. What's the one thing you can't do in Stadium? Swap heroes. So they don't know what to do. Right? Like if they're just getting rolled every game and they're not having fun and they don't know what things to buy and they don't know what things to play, right? They're gonna get frustrated. Do casual players care about meta? No, they don't. I'm not talking about playing the hardcore meta builds, although you will be able to by just following people's builds. I'm talking like synergistic builds, right? Like you're going mostly ability powers. You know, it's like, hey, like this build, you know, this is your torpedo build, so you're gonna go mostly torpedo, right? Like this is mostly your swing build on Ryan, so you're gonna mostly swing, right? They don't want to read all the things. They don't understand them. They don't even want to take time to it. They just want to play Overwatch. They just want to play the game, right? I feel like that's where the example builds help a lot. And the example builds do help a lot, but they're not great. Like the example builds are okay at best, right? And so that's why having shareable builds will help a ton, because one, they could go to people that they trust, like either content creators or whatever, TikTok, etc. And then on top of that, other friends. And depending on how detailed it is, like it could literally have notes where it's like, hey, do this early game, do this mid game, do this late game. You know, if you feel like you're really getting rolled, you can buy this flexibility, right? Or this flex slot.
That's another one of the things, like when I talked about we're like putting information together, you know, like as we're making decisions, like the name of our quest feature changed to trials. Like after we put this like after we had like a locked version of this roadmap that we had to send out to our localization teams. And it's kind of crazy working on a development team, like the number of names you have for even like the heroes in our game. It's kind of crazy, you know, where like and
so Deadlock does some really good things though.
Like in our like editor and our tools, you know, like Reinhardt's still called like Juggernaut, you know, and it's just like, or Jug or whatever, because that's just like what he started out as in like 2014 or something like that. And it's funny too, like I don't know why, like I get kind of stuck on some of those too. So I will still call Farah Mercy sometimes, because that was like her original name.
Oh wait,
for,
really?
like,
I didn't even realize that.
What?
Yeah, on the team. It was very short-lived, but it just kind of just like, I don't know, it like a couple of my neurons arrange themselves a certain way and they haven't untangled.
Everybody must get so
crazy
confused when
lore.
you're talking about Mercy and you're talking about something. Yeah, we got to give Mercy more, you know, boops, and they're like, dude, Aaron, what are you talking about? Aaron, you good? Like.
I am not good. No.
I was like, okay, that's awesome. So
that's such cool lore.
I'm going like spitball here, but someone asked about the drafts, right? So this is going to be kind of what we think it is, right? You pick a hero, the other team picks a hero. That's basically what you're aiming for. Like you go.
Yeah.
Kind of
So that's basically it. Well. Yep. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just responding to that. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. So it's going to be it's pretty simple. There's going to be some details in there that we're going to have to work through, like. It'll probably be some sort of like snake pattern as far as like with the heroes that you're picking from. And I have a feeling like we'll probably give the first tank to go a ban. in it. So it's like no one else gets it, but in this version of draft with like the one tank, like the 5v5 version of Stadium, we'll probably need to do something like that in there, just because we don't want one tank to pick and then immediately the next tank picks like what will be like the best matchup
yeah,
for
that's
them.
smart. I was just thinking the
like,
same thing.
We're kind of hoping that that's like a nice middle ground of like giving that first person kind of like an advantage and a disadvantage all at the same time to even it out. And then I think there's like one more thing to talk about with drafts, and this kind of goes back and forth with the quests or trials feature, is we've gone back and forth a few times internally on what would be more important for the mode. Is it that like is there a format?
That's a good question. Are they considering 6v6 Stadium? Yeah, because he did phrase that as 5v5 Stadium. I caught that as well. However, though, I would be very surprised. And the reason why I'd be very surprised is I'm already nervous that they're going to split the player base into quick play and ranked in Stadium, and there's already queue time issues. So
that problem in Stadium,
I don't know if it could handle it.
Drafts can fix.
I just don't think Overwatch is a big enough game to have a 5v5 quick play ranked, a 6v6 quick play ranked, a 5v5 Stadium quick play ranked, and a 6v6 quick play ranked. Like, it just would not be possible.
And drafts isn't just about format. It also, there's some strategy in there and stuff like that too for a team to put together. But like, is that more important for it, or is it more important for the team to put a system in that kind of like nudges people to have a bit more, like, to think about their builds differently and to have a bit more variety from match to match? And so like, we've gone back and forth on that, like even over the past few months. A few times I could see a version of this where those two features actually swap, like it could be that we pull one in earlier, like maybe drafts goes to 18 and trials goes back to 19 or something like that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So there's wiggle room there in case like it's not ready yet. You're willing to kind of flip one of them if capable. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's not even if it's not ready. It's what's going to be better for players and better for the game mode. We'd like to stay as agile on this as we can.
I get what you're saying, because like, so if it's more solved by season 18, it might be better to do drafts because that would kind of shake it up a bit, and then trials would be the addition to that after. Also, the chat picked up on this. I didn't pick up on it. People said you said the 5v5 version of Stadium. So does that mean there was ever a 6v6 version? Is there a 6v6 version?
There's not. Like, I kind of that was like a little manipulative. I threw that out so you'd ask me a question.
Good lead.
There's not one right now, and because I've seen people ask about it online. Right now we've got some performance problems in Stadium, especially on console. So I think what we really need to do before we would look
Fun
at
fact, Overwatch
like
is still on old gen consoles.
Dial in
Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Because that 6-player on each team is just going to be too much for some of the platforms that we're on, Switch
gamers exploding.
Funny, the mode actually started as a 4v4 mode, and that's where like the like initial exploration happened with, and part of it was for performance, but a lot of it was for like, we just had this worry that it was going to be too crazy, right? There's just going to be too many things going on.
The 7v7ers remember. You guys remember?
In the mode, but it's weird. Like you pretty quickly adapt, and I would even think that if we
that was the opposite end, 4v4.
Would pretty quickly adapt.
It existed. It was real.
Information.
It was real.
It's just something that's not on the table right now.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I figured I'd ask because I saw chat pick up on that one a little bit. So speaking of that, I know you've probably mentioned it in AMAs and on Twitter, etc. I imagine it's going to be the same. Like, you're getting closer to the console fixes to make it a little bit easier for people, because I know that people really want to play it on console, and I see it all the time. They're like, oh, I have a PS4 and I'm not able to play, and I want to play like soon.
So this next Monday, cross your fingers, we're hoping to have a patch or a hotfix that allows us to test a few things on consoles. One of the things that we did, and I don't know if everyone knows this, but because we were getting some performance issues, we made the decision on some of the older platforms to lock your FPS to 30. And what that does is it kind of takes away all these different spikes that you have in the game, so it's a more consistent experience. But the real question is like, how often do those
Chat, I gotta pee again. I I've drank literally a full one of these, and I'm already on to the second one today. So don't ask. Hot take. Genuinely scalding. We need to leave the old gen consoles behind. We got to do it. It's time. I know why they don't, because people don't want to upgrade and they don't want to spend the money. But like, you gotta leave. It's time. Like it's been 10 years, more than 10 years, right? They came out in like what, 2013, 2014. It's not gonna happen because they want to make more money. And the fact that people have access to the game through those is valuable. It makes the companies more money. That's why they won't do it. But it puts everyone else in a worse experience because they want to cater to that group and make sure that they can play, so they'll spend more money. That's it. It makes the games worse, though. I know things are not great, you know? Economic turmoils are not fantastic. Consoles are like, well, I mean, I guess it's different now, but like maybe like 6 months ago, consoles were like $500, $600, $700, right? Over the span of 10 to 12 years, you gotta put together $500 in 10 years, right? Over 10 years, you gotta do it at some point if you actually want to keep playing the video games. Like, listen, okay? It was like iPhone 6 that year is the same year that some of these consoles came out. It's time. I gotta go pee. Right back. It's just too much. It's too much. All right. Let's continue, shall we?
Actually happen, and is it worth locking your experience to 30 FPS the entire time? Because what that does is it reduces your input, you know, to 30 FPS too. So like everything can just feel a little bit more laggy that way.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try some experiments where we're turning that off, and just kind of like collect data on it, see what players think about that. And if that is like a net positive, we'd probably leave that on for players. And then we're also doing like just a bunch of work, just performance tuning work. There's a lot that is going on. Like this is a more CPU heavy mode than some of the other modes that we've got. And so on certain platforms that can be more challenging. So we're looking just at like the way a lot of our scripts are run, if there's different things we can do to improve performance in different small ways to just like continually nudge that frame rate higher for people.
That's good. It must
be. I think the first thing they'll see is next Monday.
That's good. So okay, but hopefully everything goes well with that, and it's got to be interesting because Overwatch is obviously known for being very well optimized. So much.
Sorry, one more time. I'm an LPN and I can't afford a new console. Listen, I genuinely get it. Okay, I grew up poor as. I really did, but it's been 10 years, more than 10 years for some of these consoles. When I was a child, like a literal 7-year-old, I saved up $500 in like 3 or 4 years by like always saving my birthday money, always saving Christmas money, anything like that, right? I get it, but it is a choice to not get the upgrade at this point. It was a choice that has been made, right? Like, even if you put $5 or $10 away a week, right, over the span of a few years, you 100% could have done it, right? And I totally get it. But to say it's like we can't afford it, it's like I know things are expensive, but we had 10 years to get there. You know what I mean?
Be like a very interesting spot now where it's like, oh, back to square one. Now we have to go back into optimization mode.
Like we shouldn't stop marching forward with content or marching forward with technology because of that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm choosing to eat. Dude, I get shit's expensive. I'm not telling you it's not. But like literally at $5 a week for years, $5. You know, $5 is nothing. You can't even buy a candy bar sometimes for $5, depending on where you're at. You know? I get it. I'm not trying to come after you. I'm just saying, like, if you have other things and other priorities, I get it. And there's other games that are out there, you know? I can't afford $5, literally surviving week to week. And not even every week you could do it, right? But like, if you're that, right? If you're that in like, you're so screwed, that's like that over 10 years, $5 a month for 10 years and you'll have $600. $5 a month. You can't even get a bottle of water at some places. Like, it's such a hard conversation to have because like you don't want to like make someone feel like shit, right? Like you're not trying to like talk down and talk about their financial situation. I get it. But how do you have the conversation and be like, dude, games have to move forward. We should be using, you know what I mean? Better stuff. But it's like, I'm not trying to shit on you for it either. But like, that's just kind of how it is, you know?
Where, I mean, obviously you're always improving that, but
if money is that tight, should gaming be your priority right now? Yeah, I guess that's a good point. That's a good point. And it's not even like those people don't deserve to have some off time. You definitely deserve to have some gaming and some chill time. Like, that absolutely is true. But if it's that dire, like, oh baby, like there's a lot of things.
It's been a bit since you've had to do that for a while, so I think maybe beginning of Overwatch 2.
Yeah, like the game mode, like we're always or the game itself, we're always adding like new features to it and pushing things a bit. So you have like these moments where you either have to like go back and do like a big performance focus, or like, hey, there's a bunch of tech debt on the project and things like that. So it's like we've introduced like some modes like Flashpoint, where like the maps are way bigger and they start hitting performance, so you need to go in and start looking at it there. Or even things like mythic weapons was like this massive like endeavor across the entire team of like, how do we even just get like the memory freed up in order to be able to do something like that. So like there's a lot of like, we kind of hit a lot of moments like this, but yeah, this one maybe I think is one that we're dealing with a little bit more after it launched than before, than I think we would have liked, and so we're trying to respond to it as quickly as we can.
Yeah, well, hopefully it all settles, because I think that people will be happy with that. So that's always good with that one. I just had a question in my head, and I ever do that thing where you have something ready to go and then you just forget a second later and you get in that awkward situation where you're like, what was I gonna say or do? That's where I'm at, right?
You've just described my daily experience, right? The lived experience of a game director. Yes, I get that.
Those meetings must be amazing when you get into that moment. You're like, I'll be real with you, I got nothing right now for a second. I was all ready too. I was like, I'm gonna remember something on this one too, and I just completely forgot.
Yeah, it was probably amazing too.
Oh, it was gonna be great. It was gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be a question that people are gonna love or something like that. I have no idea. Oh, I'm curious on this one. So you have a lot of data, right? Do you have data on how many people are using first person in comparison to third person?
Oh shoot! We are collecting that. I don't know what the answer is right now. I'm gonna like message somebody and see if we can get that a little bit later.
That's actually a great question.
Sounds good. I know it's a deep question, but like I was just curious because like it's the first time we've ever really had third person in Overwatch, unless you're playing one of the third person heroes. So, you know, like you're holding up a Rhine shield. So it's I like both, so I'm curious.
Yeah, I kind of like both too, and it's like it's hero by hero. But we managed to get the telemetry in, and this was like the last minute. We thought we weren't going to get telemetry in on first versus third person until 16.1 or like mid-season 16. It's just the way we refer to it internally. But I think we got it in for launch, and so like we ought to have something there. Sometimes the issue is like you collect the data, but you don't have a way to like display it and show it to the team. So some of these things we actually have to have like some of our like data like scientists actually go in and like run stuff for us in order to collect it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense too. Yeah.
Hopefully I can get something for you.
Do you think, and I remember asking you that Spotlight, do you think it's still a world where you eventually go first to third if you hit a button? Or is that still...
like, maybe. So there's, like...
I like that idea.
There's been some pushback on it, like, from the team and from the community. I think, it's like this, like, interesting thing where, like, you want to keep the game balanced, but it's also kind of fun to push something like this and to kind of like push the envelope a little bit and introduce something that like I haven't really seen before. So I don't know, like right now we're holding off on doing something like that, but we should at least experiment with it internally. I mean, as long as we're having fun on the game team internally, that's what matters, right?
Hey, you know what? It sounds like we need a...
Yeah, there's a lot of like purist argument on that one. Like, for example, in an FPS game, right? Like, you can't have third-person Widowmaker, right? Like, you know how third-person Widowmaker is going to work? Let me explain to you. You have one Widowmaker sits behind a corner. You have another Widowmaker holding the ankle. You sit there and you wait until they look away. And then the second they look away, you peek them and kill them. They can't look away. They're not able to. The only thing in the 2 months, they have to sit there and stare at that corner, waiting the entire time. They can't do anything else. That is an argument right there. It's like you literally could never potentially have third-person Widowmaker in the base game.
Stadium experimental thing or something like that, like a card to go up one day where you put on that option and see if people how they feel too, because that could be interesting. You know, one of those like quick play hacks.
I got an answer.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm ready.
So I don't have details on this, but it's 62% of players are in 3P and 38% are in 1P.
Wow. Okay, that's actually. You know, I'm not like, I'm not going to say it's surprising because I had no idea what to expect, but I wonder if that will eventually get to 50-50 or that will start to go away from each other. I'm curious, like in 2 months' time, where is that lay? But so that's pretty good.
Yeah, and this is like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you have this tendency of making it sound like I'm going to keep talking, and I'm done talking. It's a great thing to have.
No, it's weird. Like your audio cuts out anytime I say anything at all, and it'll cut out for like
my phone
seconds.
does that.
So, yeah, so I'm just dealing with that.
If I ever have a phone call with someone, my phone does that. It's awful.
By player. The question is
refuse
like,
to get
how
a new
many
phone
people
though.
are like differentiating it by hero? You know, there's like I think a more detailed analysis that we could do there to like really check it
6
out.
months.
That's really cool.
And
I like that. I'm also glad you're adding the important builds thing and doing it sooner than later, because I am a person who forgets my build right away. I will go into the training range. I'll be like, chat, we're going to run this build. I get in there and I forget everything immediately. So I'm glad you're adding that because I need that. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, it's actually like it's a pretty cool feature, you know? So it's like, one, you'll just be able to do it in the practice range if you want to, you know, like be able to jump in, put something together and save it. But it's going to be a little bit more full featured than the example builds that we have. So you'll be able to put more items into it and kind of separate things by like, hey, here's like early, mid, late game sort of like items that you want to put in there.
Yeah, that will be really good because I think more depth of that will be nice, because like sometimes you can have a build, but you don't know like why you have this build going into round 5. It's like, I don't know. So like you can say this is early, then you can sell it. Can you have it so you can show like steps of selling items too? As in like, so like if I'm like, hey, I'm making a build for rounds 1 through 3, but then at this point I'm going to sell it. I hope it's detailed.
If it's not detailed, I'm going to be a little bit sad.
It's a little bit like that. Yeah. It's not going to have it to where it's like, hey, like now's the moment to sell, but it's more of like, hey, here's the items you're going to take in the early game. Here's the ones you want like mid, and kind of go that way. This is pretty amazing. I've got like people on the team right now messaging me like additional details.
Hey, listen, send it. I'm loving it. So,
it's pretty great.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I've loved is like I think I see Dylan in like so many chats so amped up about Stadium, so you can feel that passion every single time. I love it. It's so good.
He's 100% in. He's messaging me about first and third person.
I love that. That's so good.
That's funny.
No worry, I'm going to keep having questions. Actually, Chad, do you have any questions too? Because this is open-ended. I don't have any prepared stuff. I'm not told I can't ask anything. So we can, it's more Stadium-esque. Keep in mind, Stadium questions. Obviously, I'm not going to go into other details, but.
I saw a matchmaking question in there that maybe I can jump into.
Go for it.
Just
Absolutely.
Like why we're matching up people that are pretty far apart in the leagues. And this one's like it's a little complicated, but like the way that we designed and engineered the ranked system for Stadium, it's a little different than the regular game. So we still are dividing people up into leagues and like the divisions inside each of those leagues, but for like the first 4 leagues of Stadium, it's a progressive system. So like you are just going to be able to rank up easier, or like your play time is going to account for part of your rank up. It's not just about like your win percentage in there. And it like tapers off more and more like as you get through it. But then like in leagues 5 through 7, it's really about just like your win-loss record and how well you're doing and how well the game thinks you are internally. And so what that means though is we really need to separate like your skill from your league, especially for people at some of those lower leagues. And so we have an internal rating for a player that can be pretty different from what their external rating is. And you'll even see this in the normal game, like when we do like some of the rank resets at the normal game, we still need to know what people's like internal MMR is, because depending on when they jump back into the season, you could have some pretty bad matches if we just did it based off of what their rank was.
Yep.
So,
how so though? Because if you're doing a rank reset, right? Like let's say you're like a Masters player and you reset down to Plat, right? And then you hop back in 3 weeks later. Are they putting you in the matches with all the Masters players? Or are they putting you in the match with the Plat players? Because like, is it a bad match to be in the game with the Plat players? Because you're going to be the best player in the lobby, probably, right? Other than forcing you on the treadmill of like, oh, gotta grind, gotta get back to where I was, right? Like, what's the point? Because like the point of doing a reset is to start you over, right? Like, or like a mid-season reset or end of season reset, right? It's like, basically like, let's say I hopped back in tomorrow. It's like, oh shit, I haven't played in 3 weeks. Oh, I'm actually Plat now. Well, I should be playing Plat players and beating their ass back up to my own rank, right? Like, it's a skill check, yeah. But then the opposite end of that is even worse, right? Where like, let's say it shows you're Plat and you're playing in Masters lobbies and you're winning and losing, right? Like you're lose a game, win a game, and you're like, what the f, I'm losing in Plat. Are you? What's going on? You know what I mean? Like, you're not actually. You're losing to Masters players, but like the little shiny icon on the front is wrong, right? So that's why I really don't like the way they've done resets. Like, when everyone asked for rank resets back in the day, what we envisioned was Apex. What everyone envisioned when they first talked about doing rank resets was Apex. And when Apex does a rank reset, everyone gets put back in the shitter, or gets put down a bunch of ranks, right? And so like, if you were like Plat or below, you're starting bronze and everyone's back in bronze and it's just shit show, right? But like, you're a Plat player in bronze, you're probably gonna win a couple games. You're like, yeah, I'm voted, right? And then you climb back up quickly, right? People say like, oh, it's just, you just want to shit on bad players. No, but yes. I want, if it says I'm Plat, I want to play against Plat players, right? That's how it should work. If it says I'm Plat, I should play against Plat players. If it says I'm Masters, I should play against Masters players, right? Like, it shouldn't be, it shows me Plat and then I play Masters players. That's ass. That's stupid. I don't like that. And I think that's what everyone wanted when they asked for it. And so the new version, like the Overwatch version of rank resets, kind of sucks. It made me not care about my rank anymore, to be honest, because rank means nothing to me anymore. It doesn't mean shit, right? Because like, you're just constantly getting back on the treadmill and going back up anyways. But like, you're playing against the same players the whole way up, so who cares, you know?
So
it only really matters if you don't play for like 6+ months or more.
The short answer is we're always matching, like, or creating matches with people as close to each other's skill level as possible, even if like their ranking in Stadium is pretty divergent.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that I explain that every single time there's a rank reset. I'm like, no, I'm still going to be playing against the top 500 players. It's an internal hit an MMR. I'm still going to be playing against them. It's just I'm in a different rank right now.
4 months.
So, makes sense. One thing that I've wanted with Stadium is there ever going to be a search bar? So like, if I want to go command and shell build, I can type command in, and then it will go to like, it will show me all the things that would be beneficial to those abilities.
Wow.
Okay, you want scalding hot take then? I personally believe if rank resets don't actually work as rank resets and they still go off internal MMR, there is no point in doing them. There's no point. Don't do them anymore. Stop the rank resets. Just don't do them. Get rid of them. They're ass. Because it punishes players who don't play very often. Like if you're like a, you know, let's say you play 30 games a season, right? And you get reset down, it's going to take you multiple seasons to get back to your rank that you like felt like you deserved, or felt like you were, or actually not even felt like you deserved. You actually did play at, right? Like let's say you're a diamond player and then you get reset down to gold and you only play 30 games a season. Say you win 60% of those games throughout the season, you might get from gold to Plat. That doesn't feel that great because you're like, I was diamond and I'm still lower than I started after 2 months of play, right? It's stupid. It's dumb. It's genuinely dumb. So if I'm giving a rank reset, I should be playing against the players that my rank reflects. If it doesn't, then it's like, well, this is stupid.
I don't know if we've ever even talked about that.
Oh,
so,
damn.
It's a cool idea, though.
What was the idea?
Wow.
It would be beneficial if I want to go command and shout build, one thing that I've wanted with Stadium, is there ever going to be a search bar? So like if I want to go command and shout build, I can type command in, and then it will go to like, it will show me all the things that would be beneficial to those abilities.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be in the shareable builds?
Even talked about that.
Oh,
so,
damn.
That's a cool idea. Though.
I think it'd be cool.
Yeah. I think that's cool. Yeah, like that's a cool feature. It's like the cool thing about like developing something like this is you go
tells
from,
me that the shareable builds thing is not going to work the way we think it is. How do you get
as many like big features in as possible and do like these big meter moving things to after launch?
No, I think he's asking like general bar in the armory. Fair, possible. He might be right. You might be right. That might be what he is doing, but. With shareable builds, I would have hoped that you could type in the search bar commanding shout builds, and then anyone who has the keywords commanding shout in their build, you could just look at that. Sid, by the way, thank you 12 months. Appreciate it, dude.
Start thinking about like what are the quality of life things that you could put in that could potentially make the mode better for a bigger number of people. And so like I think for a little while we'll still be looking at like, hey, what are some of like what are the issues we can solve? What are some of the things to like make the mode better? But then we will definitely start getting into quality of life stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I just think that'd be really cool. It just makes it so much easier for searching for stuff. Sometimes I feel like I don't.
How is text search an untalked about feature in 2025? That seems like a lot for Overwatch TBH. You two should look at each other just to be sure. Just like
even
that's how it happens.
Like nonstop. I don't
even
recognize half the icons. Still, I look at it, I go, that's gonna be something. So that'd be really cool to have that search option on that one. Chat's asking the questions now. Let's see what else we got here. Because
there was an ADS question.
Oh, what question? ADS, you said?
Yeah, there was a question on ADS, just whether we're going to improve it at all, and we are. So I think it'll be in 17.
Okay.
We ought to have something that makes it so it's no longer that pop. You know, it's like a little weird right now to get that pop into ADS, and so we're going to do something where we like kind of like do that smooth interpolation in and out of like the standard over the shoulder camera into the ADS.
Shareable builds are going to use replay codes. I'm not sure whether the game is going to have a global searchable database for everyone's saved builds.
I'm looking forward to that because
that's going to probably cause some big issues. Everyone's going to have to run to like the biggest content creators or TikTokers that they find and ask them for their builds. Like you think people come in and ask about settings often? Oh man, can't wait for that, because like that'll actually cause a information vacuum where if you don't have an in or you don't know who to look for someone's builds, like you're going to be at a disadvantage, right? Like if you're the average gold player and you're in the know and you know who to find certain builds from, you could go grab all the best players' builds and then follow those to a T. Meanwhile, little Timmy, who doesn't know anyone in the community, doesn't really keep up with it that much, is either just asking his friend for a build or is trying to build them on his own, is probably going to be at a disadvantage because he doesn't have a way to look them up in game.
A hero with a scope where I'll unzoom or I'll zoom in and I'm looking like 40 degrees away from where I was at a wall, and I'm like, okay,
fuck little Timmy.
You have the timing like perfectly. You just look somewhere else. So.
Little Timmy won't mind as much either. That's actually not true. Little Timmy doesn't want to get shit on every game. I can tell you, as people that I know that casually play Overwatch, their biggest problem with Stadium is getting shit stomped and not knowing why they're getting shit stomped, and it's mostly because their builds are bad and they don't know how to stop it because they've been trained to the way to stop getting shit stomped in Overwatch is to counter swap, and you can't swap. So if you walk out on D.Va and they walk out on Zarya, you feel like you just lost the game at the start. That's how they feel, right? Like that's how it is. They just think they've lost the game from the start. Well, that's too bad. Well, that's how you have people stop playing the game. That's not good. That's not smart. That's not how you keep a player base happy. That's just stupid.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really good then. I like that you're making those changes too. I'm trying to see Chad is just going off with a bunch of questions.
You don't want to do that. That's a bad thing to do.
I don't know if we can ask that question about the third person for that. That's a different one. That we're doing Stadium questions right now.
No, yeah, counter swapping not being in Stadium is a good thing. I agree. But they don't know why they're losing.
Will be a question that people will ask.
You can't have players playing a game constantly losing and not understanding. They're not learning.
Modes for third person, but
there was a question about whether there's any issues with role queuing, because it like matchmaking and queue times it's something we've been hearing actually a lot about from.
Surely that's just being bad. you really like in this specific aspect, dropping skill issue or oh, they're just bad is genuinely horrendous for your player base. Like, there's a difference between the people who are like, I can't climb, the matchmaking sucks, skill issue, versus I'm losing games over and over, I don't know what the f is happening, skill issue. Because those people just say, okay, and just stop playing. Period.
Yep.
Players.
And you don't want that. That's a bad thing to do.
And so like I could try to like wrap all of it into one answer. But as far as like role queues, what's really interesting about Stadium is that support is the most popular role in
As
Stadium.
a casual, when I played D.Va and I got faced with a Zarya, I immediately thought, great, I'm hard countered. I can't do anything about this. Yep. But you know what would be nice with a search function is you go D.Va versus Zarya build. And then like pops up and it tells you like, oh, this is how you build D.Va into Zarya, like anti-beam. You know what I mean?
Stadium, by a pretty decent margin. And so support players now are having the longest queue times in Stadium. And then DPS and tank players are roughly equal in having like the fastest queue times in Stadium. And the tough thing about it is at like the really high levels, like we're seeing some pretty long queue times, and I can talk to that. But at the really high levels, support's even more popular, and so it's exacerbating the problem that we've got right there. For most of the population, it's not a big deal, but as you start getting up into like the really high ranks, it can start becoming a problem.
Okay.
And so we are seeing some like some pretty long queue times for like the top players. The average queue time I think is under 2 minutes for most players in Stadium.
Yep.
But like at the ends it gets high, and like one of the reasons why is just there's a little bit of a role imbalance. But the other side is that because the mode is so new, a lot of the players that like, let's say maybe like a streamer that are playing a ton, they're like really pushing out ahead of a lot of the rest of the population. And so they're almost creating like this little island of like MMR that it's hard to find players with. So we are talking about doing a bunch of things. We think that there's like a lot of tuning that we can do to help get some of those like queue times down. We're also talking about like doing.
I'm a little worried about fatigue long term because like they're gonna rank reset everybody back to the bottom every season at the start, and then you're also splitting the player base in half with quick play and ranked. And I'm sure eventually people are gonna get tired of Stadium and go back to the base game, right? So I'm very concerned long term that like if you're a high ranked player, the game might genuinely be impossible for you to get a game.
Doing an unranked version of Stadium, and there's some nice things that we can get with that. Like I think players' first instinct is like, oh, if you're gonna have 2 queues, now queue times are gonna be even longer. But the nice thing is we'd be able to like have a different set of rules as far as matchmaking goes in the unranked version, to where we could start speeding that up. And then we could do specific things in the ranked version, like we could put grouping restrictions into the ranked version and things like that. And some of those things are like causing some big issues on like the matchmaking times, especially for like the high ranked players. And so we're kind of talking about doing a lot of stuff like that right now, but we definitely think we can get queue times down at those extreme ends. And we think still that there's enough matches being made that we'd be able to split those queues and maintain pretty healthy queue times.
It will be interesting because I know a lot of people obviously want to play it, but sometimes you add the rank and the comp to it, or people don't have time. So it's I think it's important to get that mode out. Obviously, having it be right, but I like that. Now I have to ask this question because this person has been the most spam heavy I've ever seen, and I'll look at some of these questions that Megan's put here too. If you ever have builders where you have a new type of deployable, I had to do it. They spammed it like 80 times, timed themselves out 3 times doing it. I had to do it.
Wow, squeaky wheel here. That's a great question. So I don't know.
Emong's too nice. I wouldn't ask it just because they spammed it so many times.
Yet. But that would be pretty fun to do something like that, to have a new deployable for them. It's actually like a pretty
cryo
awesome
turrets.
Idea. It gets into like one of the things that we want to do with Stadium. Like you talked about Hero Fantasy earlier, right? Where it's just like it's just fun to think about what some of the other heroes or what some of our heroes could do, you know, like our very first intro cinematic for Overwatch is like back when we announced in 2014, like Reaper shot these like smoke grenades, you know.
Yep. Oh.
And it's like, it's not like
Torb gamma charge turrets.
It didn't look like it was something he shouldn't be able to do, and it's like we have to pick a very small set of what players can do for the core game. It's just like the way that a hero shooter works and the mechanics work in it. But they are able to do a lot more than that. So this answer is kind of going long for.
That's fine.
What?
That's fine. I'm a yapper. You can talk all day long about all this stuff. I'm vibing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm a yapper and I'm a rambler, kind of. I'll go off on tangents. But like, yeah, I think it would be. In the end, that would be super fun to do that, because like some of the items or powers that actually transform what a hero does, and it makes you think about playing them differently. I think are some of the funnest ones to put in the game mode.
I agree. I would.
They
still
did have
love,
different types in the PvE.
This is
You're
like
right.
a random thought. Like imagine having Devo to where I could just like eat an ultimate and then reuse it as like a power. How fun would that be? Like things like that just sounds so good. Like you just
that's awesome.
So we have a few questions here too, and I'm just gonna go with. Someone asked about like stadium replay system. Are you like gonna try to improve that? Are you happy with it? Like I know it's like 27 replay codes per game now.
Yeah, the replay queue is so bad for it.
We're working on, and it was one of those things that kind of like came in last minute. You know, like we had it on like our like stretch list of like stadium features, and so we're going to be doing some improvements to it over time.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I personally, as a streamer, I would love one day if replay codes never get wiped. What is like the technical part behind that as to why they get wiped? I know it's random. So there's like
those all get saved out in like a very specific format, and then as you start making changes to the game, it like invalidates some of that data because things are just different, you know. And like sometimes you'll do like pretty big overhauls in the engine.
It's interesting because Rivals keeps theirs for like 4 months at a time.
We started working on this. This is a long time ago. This is before even Overwatch even shipped, you know, when we're talking about it. And like technically you would have to go back and like fix up everybody's replays in order to be able to do that. And then you would have to like, you'd have to have these series of like, okay, we're like fixing it not just for the last patch, but like 40 patches ago, as you kind of have this cascading set of like fixes that'll happen. And it was just like, we just deemed it to be too big of like one of those ongoing like costs to the project that it just wasn't worth it.
I get it. I was just curious. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those.
Get it.
Yeah. I was just curious. I mean, obviously, like it just always is a question on that one. So somebody asked earlier, you were talking about like players not playing their roles. Is there other ways you can incentivize people to play roles, or has it kind of hit the point where like people aren't going to tank a lot because it's tank? Is it like, is there more, you know? Yeah, you know what I mean on that. But...
Yeah, totally. I think that there's things that we can do. I had like a long time ago, it felt like the development team was maybe like a little bit more entrenched on like, hey, here's just how many people play tank, here's how many people play support. But after Overwatch 2 shipped, there was like a lot of there was a lot of critical feedback about the support role.
Yeah.
And it was definitely like not that popular. And we put a lot of effort into making the support heroes more fun to play and have more impact. And now they're just as popular as damage is in the core game, right? So there's definitely things that we can do to tweak it.
That's crazy.
I think that like it's interesting when you think about like why people play Stadium. You might feel like you can transform support heroes more than some of the other ones because you're like, hey, do I want to be a total healer or do I want to be total DPS? They have like these. Some of them have like two very distinct styles of builds that they can go after, and that's like really exciting, I think, for players to do. So it might just be that like, and I'm just thinking out loud right now. This is like,
no worries,
this isn't something that we've talked about a lot, but it might just be that they have like almost like a leg up in this style of game mode. And we'll have to find ways of like having other people catch up to them. But that's like a good question. It's something for us to talk about.
Okay, I like that. Someone had a really interesting question too. They said, Do you intend to change abilities as time passes to keep things fresh with older heroes as
They
the
have
new ones
to,
come out?
right?
Getting rid of some of the current abilities, new ones, like different takes on the hero? And
yeah. Definitely. That's
okay.
what's okay. So one of the funnest things about Stadium, or like, and hopefully it'll be one of the most exciting things for players, is that there's actually a lot of knobs that we get to turn in this game mode. There's a lot more than we have just in like standard, like the core quick play and competitive modes of Overwatch. It's actually one of the reasons why we even introduced perks. There's going to be more things that we can change season to season. So you're going to see
Changing
some of
perks will be
that
fun.
Same change that we do with perks.
I think the best perks or the most fun perks are the ones where you get an extra button. You know what I mean? Where you get the shield bash, like this, or I guess it's not really a button, but like the Sigma float, the Zen float, getting your rock back from eating damage, Reaper right click. Yeah, those are like the most fun.
Inside of Stadium. So like, for instance, we're going to be removing a fair amount of the just the items in season 17 and replacing them with other items. And it's just going to like cause people to like think about their heroes differently. And when I say fair amount, I don't mean like
it's all gone, new ability.
So we'll be doing that, and then like for the time being, I think on the powers side, we're going to be a little bit more selective with when we pull powers out and put new ones back in. But it's part of the plan is to do something like that, especially for powers that we have issues with. The other side of Stadium 2 is it's like anytime we add a new hero, at least with our internal testing, it kind of shakes up the whole game. You know, so in just a couple weeks, Freya is going to jump into Stadium, and then at the start of season 17, we'll have 3 new heroes in there. So you just kind of like either you're playing one or you're playing against them, and everything feels a bit different because you're trying to figure out like what are all these things this hero is capable of, and how are they going to like affect this match long term. So I think there's going to be like, besides those other systems we're talking about, like trials and draft and stuff like that, we do think that there's at least for like the short term, there's like a content cadence that we can like put into Stadium or release into it that'll keep the game feeling the game mode feeling pretty fresh.
Yeah, that's what I like about Stadium 2 as someone who's played Overwatch or about to be, which is crazy to think about because I didn't play much of the beta. 9 years? Because like next year's your 10 year, I just realized. You're going 10 year. I mean, obviously longer for you, but like it's crazy to think about. But I love that when you're refreshing things because it just feels so different than what I'm used to, but also in the game that I love. And that's what I love about Stadium. It almost feels like a different game.
9 years.
Which is great.
Holy
I love
shit.
That. Someone wants to know if you can ever queue from multiple modes at once. As in, like, comp or Stadium.
It's something that we talk about internally. It's another one of those quality of life features where it would be nice to have something like that. Anytime we get into like different types of queuing and stuff like that, things get like really complicated really fast, and sometimes they turn into big amounts of work. And so like we're always kind of just like things like that we're putting up.
We might actually be getting old.
Core game features where sometimes it's just hard to like justify the work of like doing something like that, or doing like a feature that goes into the game that is like really up front and center, you know.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was a good question. I like the idea of that, like just being able to do that in the future. You know, you mentioned that we have the 3 heroes coming out next season. Can you give me one ability or power that's different than what we're used to from those heroes? Just one. You don't have to. You can choose who it is.
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna
asking for leaks is crazy.
Maybe like one of the better ones from the team.
I'm excited.
And maybe we come back to that when we get an answer.
That sounds good. We have more. I mean, endorsement system's not in Stadium. Plan on being in there eventually?
Wasn't that in the roadmap?
Sorry, just I mean, yes. I can't remember exactly when that's going in, but it's on the schedule for us, and it was one of those things where it's like we had it on like that stretch list also, you know, for Stadium stuff, and it kind of like fell off the end of it.
That makes sense.
It's weird. Like there's the weirdest part about game development sometimes is some things are like so much easier to do. Like when you go and talk to the engineering team, they're like, oh yeah, that's like easy, and you'd expect it to be really hard. And then every once in a while there's these things where and every game engine's going to do it differently. There's one of these things where like, hey, can you just like flip the switch and turn this on? And they're like, dude, that's like so much work to do it. There's that. And then look at it. My tech directors messaging me right now. Hopefully, I'm not getting into trouble right now with this answer.
I'm loving it.
But then, so there's like that, like with endorsements, and then there's also like, funny enough, like leaderboards. Leaderboards are like really hard for us to move from one game mode to another. There's like a ton of bespoke things that we need to do to it every time.
Sense.
Oh damn.
And so like that's why there's not a top 500 for Stadium right now, and that's one of the reasons why is it's like you wouldn't think that would be a ton of work, but it is a ton of work with the way that our engine is put together.
So there will be one eventually then for top 500. Is what is
there not? I thought there was.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I'm having fun regardless. Actually, speaking of ranked with Stadium, drives, is that ever a possibility too? Because I know drives just got introduced to like core. Is that going to be a Stadium thing eventually too, or?
Yeah, it's totally a possibility. We'd like to do that.
Okay, that's cool to know, because I know people, you know, I've seen a lot. I mean, I've known people like that have not played much Overwatch 2 over the past couple of years who love Stadium. So I know they would love the option for drives, because now Stadium's a game they can play.
Oh,
which is
drives,
really cool. So
true.
that's something
that would
really
actually
cool
be
too.
good.
I've had a few people who were like, you know, they didn't quite, you know, enjoy core as much, but they love Stadium. I've heard such good things. I just, sorry, I love the game mode, so I'm being a little bit of a.
I love that.
Yeah.
I do too.
It's so good.
It's so fun to play.
Yep. Okay, here's one.
Okay, what else you got?
I mean, we have Megan's popping off here too, getting some questions from it. So, with Stadium with just best of 5 with powers ever tried, and how did you settle on best of 7? Because I know initially it was 4v4, different stuff, all that. Now, was it always best of 7, or was there different variations of that?
I might speed up the back half of this.
This is like a very opportune time to ask that question. Actually,
perfect.
Because we actually did some playtests of a best of 5 experiment just this week.
Oh.
And I could go into a little bit of the history of that. Like originally, we wanted there to be way more than 7 rounds in the game mode, because we thought that you needed a certain amount of like sort of like visits to the shop to really feel yourself growing in power and to have enough strategy in the armory phase.
More than 7?
When we first started with Stadium, a lot of our PvP rounds were just team deathmatch. And the reason why we did it that way is because we just wanted to have really short PvP rounds so that we could get more rounds in the game mode. But like team deathmatch, there's like an audience for it in Overwatch, but it's not our main audience, and it's just not as satisfying, I think, for most people to play that than it is to play our core game modes. Mm-hmm. And so we did this shift where we started using like the core game modes, and those just need to be long.
15.
You know, like you want to have the time to develop multiple ults sometimes in these modes. And so as those PvP rounds got longer, we really needed to cut down on the actual number of rounds in the game mode without it going into like an hour-long match time or something like that. So there was like this really big push and pull right there. And we felt like 7 was that sweet spot. I still do feel like 7 is that sweet spot for like the amount of time a match can take while still feeling like you've got enough of a chance to like put a build together and still lose a round or two and come back from that. But at the same time, we have gotten feedback from people that like sometimes the game mode can feel like it's kind of long. And we have been talking about doing an unranked mode for it. And so we think that like there is a possibility that we do this unranked mode and we actually differentiate it more from the standard game mode by shortening the length of that match and doing like a 5v5 version of it. We're kind of like just at the start of that. So I can't.
I think 5v5 meant 5 round. But you know what though? Honestly, that wouldn't be bad. Just make sure like you give everyone a power every round and like pump up the cash by a ton.
I can't promise.
Could be cool.
But it does. It still feels like Stadium. Still feels like you're putting like a real build together and stuff like that, and you're able to do it in a faster amount of time. So like you probably have to ask me in a few weeks.
I'll make sure
whether that's coming, but something like that might be coming soon.
That's cool. I mean, I'm glad that people have that same feel, because that's the most important part. If it feels like Stadium does now, even if it's a little bit shorter, that will be the most important part, which is really cool. Somebody has a question asking if there'll ever be a time to, so now that you're doing all these like being able to like save builds and stuff, do you think there's a way where at the end of a game, if you like another person's build, you can save that right away? So like I can be like, oh, I really like this Cassidy's build. Let me go save that.
Got anything the Prime?
I don't think that's going into this version of the build saver. The way we're gonna do it is you'll be able to share builds the same way you share like custom Gamer Workshop codes.
Oh, so here's where you guys got that info
for it, and you'll just be able to use those to kind of like
that's a bit concerning.
But I don't think we're gonna have like
I think it's gonna create a power or
like,
I guess a power vacuum, but a knowledge vacuum.
Although I am being told in some of my DMs right now that we would like to do something like that long term. It's not on the schedule yet, but they'd like to be able to do it.
I love that the stadium team.
I love that they're watching this.
Oh yeah,
and like advising me.
We should have just brought them on. It would have been great. We'd have the whole team on here. You know,
that would be kind of fire.
Yeah,
just
you're
bring
really
in like 5 people.
To like 10 or 15 people right now.
That's like the Reddit AMA where it had like 100 people on there. I got to watch out for what's his name, Larry Pickle, my arch nemesis.
Oh. God,
Larry Pickle?
So
that's my arch nemesis. That's the one at Spotlight. I couldn't get past Larry Pickle.
Yeah, Larry's good. Yeah.
How are the stomp rates in Stadium comparable to comp? Someone asked that question. Like, do you see a lot of stomps, like quick games, mercy rules?
Yeah, there's actually a decent amount of them, and I think it's probably a little bit higher than we want it to be. There's a pretty decent amount of matches that are 3-0 and 4-0 matches. The weird thing about Overwatch is it's a game of momentum sometimes, even in the core mode. So the weird thing is like let's say in Control, if you win the first round of Control, you have a pretty high chance of winning the second one.
Yeah,
you shouldn't. All the ults are reset. The matchmaking is typically putting together like really good teams there. But it just kind of happens. There's like this psychological thing that's happening in some of these modes. And then with Stadium, you actually are getting a little bit of an advantage sometimes when you, a lot of the time when you win a round. And so it can snowball a little bit. So we are getting that. One of the things we're talking about doing is actually removing that currency differential in the mercy rule. It's kind of confusing to players, and what we see
that's
is
a smart call, actually.
Most of the time, if you lose your first 3 rounds, you're gonna lose the match. You know, it's like you have a pretty.
It's very rare that it goes all the way to 7,
something like that. So we think we would just end it,
especially
right
that
there. I mean, it'll up the number of 3-0s that we have in the game, but we think it's probably worth it for players. And then we'll probably start looking at some tuning things and stuff like that to maybe
Emong's got a big dono or something.
That team that's behind have a better chance. This is one of those things where like we want to be moving as quick as we can for players right now. We want to be responding to feedback and doing things. That's why you're seeing like a lot of these patches coming in, a lot of a talk like this, the director's takes we're doing. But sometimes you do need to wait a little bit on some stats before you start making like big changes with the mode. So
that does make sense,
like,
though.
The pedals to the metal on this one, but like I actually don't know how to end that analogy, but like we don't want to go like too fast.
That's a nice way of telling me to stop complaining about D.Va in Stadium. I get it, Aaron. I know where you're alluding to. I
understand. Like the comebacks happen or can happen too, but like
actually, now that I'm curious because you have the data, who has the lowest win rate in Stadium?
I can see what people get like discouraged.
And then we can do console too. I'm just curious.
You know.
So that one is very dependent on whether it's controller. Or mouse and keyboard, and then what rank you're looking at. Yeah. But I'm assuming you're kind of looking for like masters on keyboard, right?
Yeah, either way's fine because I've heard feedback on both on D.Va, so I'm just curious now.
So if it's just mouse and keyboard and you're talking about tank, it's D.Va.
Okay.
But it's not by a lot. She's still at like 46% win rate, you know. So it's like it's still basically, you know, a coin flip.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As to whether or not.
Where's Ryan at then with that? I'm just curious on like the actual percentage. I know you at the top.
Masters plus mouse and keyboard, he's at like 52%.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, it's not like a huge one, I guess.
It's not that big of a jump, actually.
Pretty tight for most of the heroes in here.
Yep.
Except for D.Va and high ranks on console. She is like way up there.
My build got nerfed, the baby D.Va one. It was it was running wild, I know. Oh man. Megan wants to make sure you're good or not because you hit the 1 hour mark, so she doesn't know your schedule.
I'm good. No, I can keep going.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, that's on you. You can, whenever you're like, you know what, I've had enough of this or whatever, you can tell us that you got to do something or pretend to be busy. You know, it's fine. I got that. Yeah.
46% sounds pretty bad. Like in League, that's awful.
That works. Okay. Well, we'll try to get some more questions during that.
Gary's rolling the
what's the most picked hero? Like the most, like you see the most of?
So where I have
I think Ash has like a 40% or something like that. I want to talk real bad.
Just average across all platforms and across all ranks at 76.
I'm not surprised by that.
I agree with
yeah, right. He's like one of the most picked heroes just in the regular game. You know, I think people just like playing him, and also like getting attack visor every 0.5 seconds or
yeah. It's
pretty good.
I feel like the soldier build though is kind of boring to play against, and I feel like people are going to start to resent it more and more.
Hey, let's rock at the wall, aimbot. It's great. I love it. So somebody had a good question, and Megan found this one too. It's like, so if you ever make a change to a hero right now in like the 5v5 base, or like, you know, a core, we'll call it core, will that also change how that hero is affected in Stadium? So like the base level of a hero.
Yeah, so far that's the plan.
Okay.
As we make balance changes to the regular heroes, it goes into Stadium. I don't think like it doesn't mean that we couldn't ever change that philosophy, but it would be so much work to try to like upkeep like 2 totally different sets of balance across both modes. That would be a lot for the team. The one thing that will be interesting is like, and it doesn't look like we're gonna have to do this for a bit, but like the first time the core hero team does a rework on a hero, that's really gonna have a big impact on that hero in Stadium. It could mean that we have to rip half or all of their powers out and redo them.
See, I hear a rework hero now. I'm wondering what heroes are eventually going to be reworked. That's gonna.
Please.
There's a few on the list.
That's good. Wait, you don't have to say the list because I remember last time that happened. It was like, when is this rework? What was it, Roadhog and Sombra at the time? It was like, where is it? So
right.
Malga.
You know, it does.
When
it does bring something up though, because like Stadium was obviously like a really big endeavor for the team. We're putting a ton of work into it, and we're talking about it a lot right now.
Remove his guns.
We just want to give it the best chance it's got. But I just don't want
remove
players
his
to
head.
think that we've forgotten about the core game. You know, like we did release a new hero this season.
Yeah. Freya, yeah, I know. Like,
yeah, we did release hero bands. There's a lot coming to the core game in the next couple of months too. We've got like a one of the seasons coming up is a banger for it. So it's like, I don't know. Like, we're not all just focusing on Stadium right now. We really love normal Overwatch. When you think about it, like for Stadium to be at like 40% of play hours, that means the majority of our players aren't playing it, you know?
Yep.
So there's still a bunch of players playing other parts of the game.
Which is awesome. I get that vibe. I imagine it will kind of get to a point where like the percentages will be, if it sounds like if it stays the way it is, it could be pretty even actually, which will be interesting if it does, because then you have like these 2 really cool things in game. Someone asked,
make Malga a melee character.
One of them was
fixed.
What was the reason you decided the heroes that you did for Stadium? Like why these heroes as your lead off heroes? Because obviously, like, you know, people see the divas, you know, versus Zarya or Diva versus Mei, etc. So like it's different. I keep saying Diva, you know what's gonna happen. It's like if you're on an interview with Flats, you're gonna hear Reinhardt 100 times. So, you know, with Diva and Zarya and all that.
Why did I catch a random stray? The I do.
We just asked Flats and he sent in a list of 17
See,
heroes.
I told everybody. That's what they do. See? Even Aaron knows.
Hey! Whoa! Why are you spilling the sauce? Hey! Why are you spilling the sauce? What the is this? Hey! Don't blame me! I don't go looking. I get asked. What do you want me for? Why you say me? Listen. Okay? We've kind of been around a long time. We've done a lot of good. A lot of things we've kind of seen. Okay? Leave me alone.
Yeah, that's it. There was like a reasoning that went into it. The number one thing that we looked at was just like, what do we think is just going to be a fun one, or a fun one to build heroes for, or one that we think like we had a lot of like
you say me for
space on the hero to build lots of like different powers and items for them. Another one is also just like the popularity of heroes. So it's like
Shadow Government.
You see 76 has picked a ton.
What do you mean Shadow Government? I'm right in front of you, motherfucker.
76 is one of the most played heroes
Shadow
in Overwatch.
Presidents?
Ana is one
No
of the
need to be a
most
Shadow
played
Presidents. I'm right in front of you.
Overwatch. So is Ryan
I'm in the open.
at times. And so it's like we definitely wanted to pick heroes where we thought it would give the mode the best chance, knowing that we wouldn't have all of the heroes.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's a lot of popular,
Yeah, and it kind of sucks because there's like it does mean that there's all these players out there that they're like, hey, you know, like when's ball going in or something like that, because it's like the hero that they play and they just want to see that hero there. But and we have like our intention is to like always be adding new heroes to Stadium and get to that point where we've got all of them in there. It's just going to take a little while, and I've seen a lot of different posts and a lot of talk about how like people just aren't playing it because their hero's not there. You know, and like that totally makes sense, right? Like that's like what for some people the reason why they play Overwatch is because of either one or a really small set of heroes that they get to play.
True.
It's like kind of like one of the hallmarks of a hero shooter. So like we're working as fast as we can to get as many in, you know, but those are like kind of two of the bigger reasons why we picked the heroes we did.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier, so I ended up being right.
Heroes right with
Seems
builds
like they
and
just
powers
don't have
rather
them
than
ready.
just trying to force like 10 heroes next season just to get them in there, but they're all kind of like, you know, not many powers or abilities and all that. Someone actually asked a question about that. I imagine you do have this data, but like, do you know the individual pick rates for like what powers absolutely dominate right now? Sorry, and which ones don't work?
We have data on pick rates for powers, and then we've got data on even like win rates for powers. But like there are some that are just like kind of obvious that they're on there, you know, like Juno getting a second pulsar torpedo. That's like kind of like tied with as like the top picked power with the 76 tac visor one, you know. So those are both, it's like 70 something % of players are picking those in their builds, you know. And the interesting thing about that is it's like what we do with perks and like the way we've been operating with perks for the core game is a lot of the changes we make to them are based off of pick rates, almost more than the balance rates on them, because one of the things we want is for players to be able to look at a choice of 2 perks or a choice of like 12 different powers and actually feel like it can be a hard decision sometimes, like either
makes sense.
or like say like, hey, like a bunch of these look good, I want them, or like, hey, this situation calls for this particular one, and to where it's not always
that's a good mentality
like,
for
the right answer all of the time.
No, they don't want to turn your brain off, only choose this, and this.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
that might be a bit difficult to do, though.
It's interesting. I like that you do it based off of like pick rate, because even if something's super strong and no one's using it, like,
why is your name Queso's eyelash mites?
It's never going to be used anyway, so it's kind of like you're either forced to nerf the other perk and make it. So I like that it goes that way, or just with powers in general. There was a question I saw. Also, overall goals to get every hero in there eventually over time. That you're going to eventually get every hero in there once you.
That is crazy.
For Stadium.
Eyelash mites is insane. That last part cut out. So what was the question?
No, wait. So for Stadium, you plan on eventually getting every hero in there?
Yeah,
like that's
definitely.
Okay,
we do.
Yeah.
I did get some word back also on some of the powers for season 17. So maybe I'll give 2.
Okay.
No, someone called it out. Their PFP is even funnier. Yo, what the that? Holy shit, that is hilarious. Okay,
Dude,
sorry.
One, because some of these are pretty amazing.
It actually got better.
With Sigma, you can get a mini experimental barrier that orbits around you.
That's crazy.
The
Sigma leak.
Normal big one.
Sigma leak. Hold up.
Maybe I'll give 2.
Okay, 2.
Instead of just 1, because some of these are pretty amazing. So with Sigma, you can get a mini experimental barrier that orbits around you.
That's so cool.
Or like a
just like his normal big one, you get a small version of that, and it's just constantly orbiting around you. And all your barrier powers kind of go into that one too, or all the items you get. And it's like, it sounds kind of random, you know, like, oh, I hope it's blocking right now, but you actually start using it and you start orienting yourself to that little barrier as it's moving around you, and like you're almost using it as like this little mini like moving piece of cover. It's super fun to have it. We've even got some like, well, I won't go into the rest of it. Some of the things that synergize with it, but it's like it's a pretty fun power.
It sounds awesome too, because like my concern with Sigma is like right now with the way the maps are, it's very brawl heavy. So like Sigma, if you have to have a static shield sometimes, that sounds like you can have more aggressive Sigma and have some fun with it. So everybody knows all my builds are someone call it the Unk build. But basically, I just go for the builds where you don't have to aim, you don't have to do anything. So I love the idea of hearing a shield build I can kind of build off of. So
yeah,
I have a good time with it. It's a really fun time. I love that.
Okay, then the other one, I'm not going to describe it. I'll just say Zenyatta Flying Kick.
Zenyatta Flying Kick.
Yeah, Flying Kick.
Is it kind of like what it used to be in like the April Fool's mode, or are we thinking even like?
I'm just gonna like leave it right there.
Okay, that's fine. I like that. Also, only concern I have with Zen, by the way, I gotta add this here: Discord Orb. I hope it doesn't shift
Discord
too much
Orb.
with everything.
Holy
I know
shit,
there's already
good
damage
point.
boosts and stuff, but I hear Zen, I hear Discord Orb. So
right, yeah, it's just like it's gonna be like the Moira multi-ball. You're just gonna Discord.
Oh, I would love that.
The map.
Yeah, one shot people immediately. I love that. I cannot believe we've been talking for an hour and 11 minutes now.
Jesus.
I love talking to you.
Yeah, I know, it's great.
Zen Kick though is probably gonna be funny as
question
shit.
at the end, and you know, when I say it's a softball and it's like some random hard question, this time, you know, you're good on that one.
What was it last time? What did you throw on me? What?
I don't know. That was the one about the battle pass thing, and then it was a random one. Oh no, and then I asked you about heroes or like increasing hero cadence or something. That was a wild day. That Spotlight was awesome, by the way. I had a blast.
So
also, I love how Stadium was from Spotlight to now. That was a huge improvement on how it felt then to now. It was great.
God, the team went nuts with this thing, and like they're all like their like morale is so high right now because they just kind of like see the player response from it, and that's just like that's the thing that like really fuels a game development team, is to see people excited for what you're playing, because it's like we're all like craftspeople and just kind of like passionate about like what we're creating, and when other people say they love it, that's like that's everything to us.
I love that. So I guess you know that because I know you said 10 minutes, so we're over that part, and I'll be the one to make it so you can kind of do whatever. I guess I'll let you decide here. What is something you want to talk about? Anything with Overwatch that is going to make Megan go, what is he going to say?
Oh, wow. I just get like a soapbox right here. I think that like what I would love players to like take from like just like this release, and even the release in season 15, is that the team has like I think we've really taken to heart some of the feedback from our players, and we would like to be doing like bigger, more monumental things in the game, and just not be as conservative or as careful as we were in the past, you know? So it's like with things like Stadium and perks, I think that
that's the right call.
That these are big things for the game, but that's not the end of our ambition or the end of the types of things that we want to do. And I think that there's just going to be a lot to look forward to, not just with what's coming this season, what's coming to Stadium, but what's coming in the next few seasons to Overwatch.
Okay, and so you're saying that even in a year's time, it's going to be just really just Overwatch. It's going to be fun.
Next year is going to be bonkers.
Ah, there you go. That's a good way to end it. Just next year is going to be bonkers. I love that. It's a good quote. If that ever goes anywhere, you know what? We're good. I'll leave it at that. That way, the community team's like, no, Aaron, you stop right there. Okay? You stop right there.
I'm done.
Yeah, that's it. Aaron, thank you a ton for being on here. I will let you do your thing. We've been going for an hour and 15 now. It's always awesome talking to you. And truthfully, I love when we have more of the impromptu, just talk about whatever type of conversation.
Don't forget, I told you guys months ago, you won't see the Rivals effect until a year from now. Rivals came out in December. Right now it's May. Takes about a year to actually see that stuff come to fruition.
You know, these are the best. So
that's
thank you
a very
for doing this. This
interesting
is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
But we already saw it. What did you see?
Bye.
What did you see? Did you see something I didn't see? What did you see? Do you think they cooked up Stadium in 4 months? Yo, no, dead ass. Do you think they cooked up perks in Stadium in 4 months? Are you high? Like, how high? You gotta be in the clouds. That's not how game development works. Aaron said on my stream that they started working on Stadium before Overwatch 2 launched. It was August of 2022 is when they started. Before Overwatch 2 even launched. No, I mean, I rushed it. I don't think you couldn't rush it that quick. That's impossible. You want to talk Rivals Effect currently? Sure. Communication potentially. Hero bans for sure. Swinging for the fences more. Like that kind of stuff. Loot boxes? There's a lot of legal troubles with loot boxes, so I bet loot boxes was in development much before, much further back. You got to remember loot boxes, they'd have to clear a lot of that stuff globally, legally, because there's a lot of countries especially in the European Union where loot boxes is illegal. So if you don't know, loot boxes can be purchased, but only in China, I believe. So they probably had a lot of things to go in that department. Plus, they were relaunching the game in China. So I bet that was probably around a lot longer than that. That being said, this shit takes years. You have not seen anything other than hero ban. Oh, the hero bans actually. Hero bans is the big one. That's the big Rivals effect so far. Communication, being more forthwith, faster patches, stuff like that. That's Rivals effect. You won't see an actual big swing for Rivals effect till a year from now. So that's a very interesting statement to hear. Next year is going to be bonkers. Because that's when we should see technically at the earliest. It was cool though. What was the Rivals effect? Basically pushing Overwatch to be more aggressive, to actually try to go forward with making the game better, with either listening to the community, leaning more into cinematics maybe, / like actually leaning into their story, heroes, Stadium, like anything else beyond that, all that kind of stuff. So